One and done Detroit Dead Wings edition. This is going to be a fun one. We all know this team is probably the worst team that we're going to take on out of the gates. That said, as you get a look at the lineup that we've put together, chemistry might be a big factor in us not being completely terrible. The top line, we have Tyler Bertuzzi, Dylan Larkin, and Filip Zadina. A second line of Anthony Mantha, Robbie Fabry, and Brendan Perlini. Third line, Dmytro Timashov with Franz Nielsen and Adam Ernie. And a fourth line, Justin Abdicator with Luke Glendening and Valtteri Filppula. 2+5s, 2+3s. Will that make a difference? One can only hope. Now, obviously, chemistry is a pretty big thing. The second line could be a little bit better, but Robbie Fabry is not an amazing fit for it, and nor is Perlini, at least not to the extent of Mantha. This is going to be one of the tough challenges where, again, we only have 3 trades. We're going to have to maximize the return that we get on every single trade. Defensively, we have Filip Hronek alongside new addition Mark Stahl, which there is a video up alongside this one where I briefly talk about the Mark Stahl trade. Spoiler alert, it's a good deal for both teams. Second pairing, we have Patrick Nemeth and Danny DeKeyser, and a third pairing of Alex Biega alongside Trevor Daley, who is likely, that's confirmed, he's leaving Detroit, but hey, he's still on the roster, at least for the moment. Goaltenders, as expected, it is Jonathan Bernier and Jimmy Howard, who is also likely to leave the Red Wings, but I don't, take people off roster unless they're 100% gone, confirmed, much like Bobby Ryan when he was bought out. So, yeah, it's not a good team. It's not. And the big question I think that we're going to have to answer in this run is whether or not Filip Zadina gets traded or stays on that top line, because he is our most valuable asset. Aside from him, Joe Veleno should be able to get us a decent return. We do have people like Michael Rasmussen, Robert Mastro-Simone, Jonathan Berggren that we can use. I mean, Berggren to a lesser extent. But these players that we can use to go out and get assets. But Zadina is our most valuable by far. On defense, we have Moritz Seider than the likes of Dennis Cholowski, who didn't make the roster. I think it's Albert Johansson, Jared McIsaac. Madison Bowie actually has decent value. He didn't fit the team at all, though. And in goaltending-wise, there's nothing. It's just nothing that helps us short term. Now, the good thing is, of course, we will likely have a very valuable first-round pick. In the future years, first-round pick should be pretty good as well. But for the moment, as we always do, we are going to sim through the first 2 months and hopefully not dig ourselves into a deep enough hole that we cannot climb out of it, similar to what happened in a prior episode, as I need to turn off. I thought I turned off the option to get trade offer notifications because they just end up being annoying. So let's double check the settings. I do set this up basically every time. It might not have saved. Let's see what we got. Yeah, okay, cool. It didn't save. So we will use this old preset here. Fun stuff that it didn't save. We'll turn that off. Fog of War, bam, turn that off. I'm going to turn off trade offer notifications and head coach firing. Of course, trade difficulty is on hard, as it's always been. All of this is fine. This doesn't matter because injuries are going to be off. All right. Oops. There we go. Beautiful. So there you go. A quick reminder for those who were unsure of what the settings are. Those have been the settings and will continue to be the settings for every single episode of this. So, good stuff. Let's see what we're dealing with here. I do want to double check the overalls here before our season opener. And we'll double check what that's looking like. And of course, we're going to have a long way to go. So our season opener is against Nashville. The Schvill. And how do we compare to the Preds, who often find themselves as sellers in Season 1? Yeah, that's a problem. Dylan Larkin showing up as our star player. Feels about right. That's rough. I mean, like I said, we've had some rosters. Buffalo's not an amazing roster out of the gates. Columbus is a bit rough, or at least was a bit rough. We managed to make it work in some ways, though. The question now is going to be, what the hell is this going to what the hell is this team going to look like? What the hell is this going to team? What the hell is this team going to look like within the first 2 months of the season? And I guess we really get to put to the test how important chemistry is. And of course, really it comes down to you want high-rated players and chemistry, not just like meh players with chemistry. It's really not going to do too much for us, I would presume. And again, we have to keep a very close eye on this team, because if we lose too many games here, we're not going to be able to overcome it. That said, second thought that just came to mind. How often do we see the Detroit Red Wings make the playoffs in Season 1 throughout these sims? It's not out of the ordinary, I would say. So this is going to be an interesting one. Still low, hanging in around 500, 9-9-4. If we can keep losing in overtime, that would be fantastic. It's going to help us a lot. I mean, right now, clearly, at this pace, we have 3 games left before we stop. We're not a playoff team, as it stands. But 27 points is a good little foundation in which to build upon. So thank God we at least have a coach that fits with a decent amount of these players, that were not completely terrible. It's Tyler Bertuzzi doing pretty well. Dylan Larkin doing very well. Zadina's not totally out of place on that top line. Mantha, 18 points and a -5. 18 points for Fabry. We need a better second line winger that's not named Brendan Perlini. Third line, oh God. Timashov, Nielsen, and Ernie. Yeah, we need someone better than Timashov as well. Fourth line, Abdicator looking okay. Glendening, not so much. Filppula's been good. And I know it might be a waste to have Flipper on the fourth line, but it's fourth line or first line, and obviously I wanted to give Filip Zadina the opportunity. It doesn't necessarily fit in anywhere better. So Timashov, Perlini, Glendening are players I'm absolutely looking at right now for potential trade options. As Ronick and Stahl have been okay. Nemeth and DeKaiser, Biega and Daly are getting ripped apart. Goaltending-wise, Howard, not good. Bernier, serviceable-ish. Oh, goodness. We have so many moves that we're going to have to make, and we only have the 3 trades. Let's take a look. Again, with the lack of high-value assets that we have, we're going to have to rely on the trade block. There's just no doubt about it, especially with how many improvements we need. Now, this is pod racing. This could be decent. We're looking at Hamonic, Ryan, Brody, and Backlund. It's a lot of money to take on. Milan Lucic only fits in on the first line. But Calgary, 2 forwards, 2 defensemen. Could be a decent little move there for us. Taves, Keith, Seabrook, Shaw. Jesus, Chicago. Really looking to blow it up. Problem is, Taves only fits the fourth line perfectly, apparently. And the problem is, that's just way, way too much money. So right now, I still like the looks of the return we could get from Calgary. And again, it's obvious we have to make a move sooner rather than later. Montreal, again, looking to get rid of people right out of the gates. I'm more intrigued by the Calgary options, though. I feel like it's more return for less. Then there's the likes of like Pitlick, Grant, Raffle, Thompson, but that's just kind of more of the same. San Jose with Vlasic, St. Louis with Steen. If we're going to make a move early, which, let's be honest, we have to, Calgary is the team. Now, it's a lot of money, but I still kind of want to see what we could get back here. We'll see if they can retain on TJ Brody. Yeah, you see, I mean, Calgary would open up so much space and really chip away at our own. But we do have people we could add to the deal to make it work. So let's just say we have them retain on those 2. Not that I think Backlund's this amazing fit that's going to help us out tremendously, but we'll do what we have to do. Holy hell, can I please get rid of that Jonathan Ericsson contract, who is in the minors. Of course, Stahl still has his deal. Abdelkader to Kaiser, Franz Nielsen, Jesus Christ, some of the money. Trevor Daley's been pretty bad, too. If we can get rid of him and Jonathan Ericsson in this deal, that would be tremendous. And then we have to look at value. Joe Veleno. Okay, so that obviously won't go through as it stands. But Joe Veleno, again, is one of the big options that we have. I'm going to look to add in Rasmussen and Master Simone as well. Okay, that still won't go through. We need a little bit more. Of course, Robbie Fabry's there. He's not an amazing fit for the team, but I don't necessarily want to get rid of him. I don't necessarily want to use Moritz Seider either. I think now would be the time to use that first-round pick because we are going to hopefully be better this year. Will this go through? No. What if we take out the third? Still no. Whew, it's going to be an expensive deal. What about our second-round pick as well? So they would take it, but they just don't want to retain salary. Bastards. Oh, God. Let's try to use Michael Rasmussen here again. There it is. Okay, done deal. So we gave up. Number one, we moved Jonathan Ericsson and Trevor Daley in the deal. And then we gave up a couple of lower assets. I mean, we didn't have to use Zadina. We didn't have to use Seider. We bring in Brody, Hamonic, Derek Ryan, and Backlund. Not bad. Not bad at all. So we'll see how this defense fits in. Again, Bowie, Cholowski don't fit. Forward-wise, we have 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14. All right, so, I mean, easy move here. Dmytro Timashov and Luke Glendening. I'm just going to send both of them down, if I'm being honest. I mean, why the hell not? If they get claimed, so be it. And Glendening did get claimed by the New York Rangers. Perfect. So that clears off a little bit more cap, which is great news for me. And to be honest, that is a move I need to make in terms of trying to send people down. So Nielsen and Abdelkader, I'm just going to send them down for the moment. And if they get claimed, perfect. If not, hey, it is what it is. Now Gagne, Helm, these guys did not fit the team as well. To be honest, I'm going to look at like Dominic Turgeon and Turner Elson for the moment. Okay, neither one of them were claimed. That's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. So we'll keep them on roster. But hey, at least now we know. So looking at this team, it is the bottom six that needs to be fixed up. And then defensively, we know Daly is out. And we're going to be looking at bringing in Brody and Hamonic. I mean, Biega wasn't that great either. So in terms of chemistry, this is going to be interesting. But we'll move in Brody. We'll move in Hamonic. Both of whom are decent fits for the team. And now looking at it, the problem is we don't want Nemeth as an offensive defenseman. But having Hamonic, DeKaiser, or Stahl for defensive defenseman makes a lot of sense. So I think we might just go with Hamonic and Brody. And changing Brody to an OFD, that should result... Let's see if this keeps the +5 if I move it down to the second pairing. It does. Let's see if changing Brody to an OFD helps out. And then forward-wise, let's get Justin Abdelkader back in on the fourth line. Then we'll look at centers. Maybe put Franz in on the fourth line? It's not the worst option in the world. I mean, Ernie wasn't great. I mean, it's clear that fourth line needed to change. I mean, again, Nielsen was there for the sake of chemistry. Let's see. So it's Derek Ryan and Backlund who are going to fill these last few spots. What if we add Derek Ryan here? Fits the third line better than the fourth line. And then we have Backlund, who fits in the bottom six regardless. So it's not too bad. Ooh, we could get a +3 there. 2 +1s or a +3. I'm going to take the +1s. And we'll have Ernie on the left with Backlund and Nielsen, and an Abdelkader, Ryan, and Filppula. So the big thing that hasn't changed yet is Perlini being in on the second line. But there's not a whole hell of a lot I can do about that just yet, unfortunately. So at least we have a couple of changes early on here that help quite a bit in terms of just boosting up this team in an overall sense. Obviously, there's still a lot that needs to be done, but that should help us in the short term. We also just cleared a decent amount of cap off of the team, really. That worked out quite well. I'm surprised they didn't put up as much of a fuss as they did about me sending, a ton of cap back their way. But Eriksson and Daly, both on expiring contracts, so I guess it makes sense that the AI wouldn't necessarily complain. So what we're going to do is sim another month here. We will see if there is any significant improvement. I highly doubt it. But we'll see how we do, and then we'll be able to take a look around the league yet again. But trade number 1 is in the books. 2 more to go, and I highly doubt that we're not going to make those other 2 trades. There have been some episodes of this where we haven't had to make all 3 trades. This isn't going to be one of those. So 18, 17, and 6, we are within striking distance of a playoff spot, just 4 points behind the Bruins. So not too bad. Let's take a look at the team again and get more of an understanding of what we might have to do. So Bertuzzi on 32 points. Ideally isn't a first-line player. He will be for us, though. Dylan Larkin, doing a little bit better. 6 more goals, for God's sakes. And then Zadina, again, he's not out of place. We might keep Philip Zadina. He's not out of place at all. 35 points in 41 games. Mantha, 28 points is pretty good. Fabry still looking decent. Perlini, again, I think unfortunately for Perlini, we need to find somebody better. It's not, the 22 points isn't necessarily horrible, but you look at Fabry and it's like, okay, Fabry's not that much better. It's clear we need somebody else. Adam Ernie, point-wise, he's where I want him to be, but just he's not quite defensively solid enough. Mikael Backlund, 6 points. I'm certainly doing better in Calgary. Franz Nielsen's not exactly crushing it either. God, that's not the most flattering picture of Franz Nielsen. I feel like he's aged like you see presidents age after 8-year terms, from when you looked at him when he was on the Islanders to now. Good Lord. So Perlini, Ernie, Nielsen, looking at potentially moving them out. And I'm okay with that 4th line. Defensively, okay, it's just that he was bad from before. He hasn't been that bad here. TJ Brody. All right, so Hamonic and Brody as a pairing isn't necessarily going to work. Nemeth and DeKaiser work out pretty well, though, which sucks because those would be the 2 to change over. But I can keep the +5 if I run Hamonic and Chronic, and then we go Stahl and Brody, which is horrifying. But we'll go ahead and make that change. And then goaltending-wise, Howard and Bernier aren't great, but the problem is I need to see if Jimmy Howard will get claimed. There's really not much we can do. We can't afford to waste assets on trying to bring in goaltending. It's just not a good idea. So Howard did not get claimed on waivers, which is very, very unfortunate. That would have cleared a decent amount of cap. And we could have maybe looked to bring in somebody on a value deal. But yeah, we're not going to be able to move that Jimmy Howard contract. There's just simply no way. So let's take a look at what else is out there. Again, I'm sure the Montreal options are out there. Nashville will be a team that we look at as well. But every once in a while, too, we get certain teams where it's like, oh, you're selling off pieces out of nowhere. It's not always the same exact players, which is helpful. But obviously, season 1, things are going to tend to be pretty similar. So Duncan Keith is available. Seabrook, again, Shaw, Taves. I wish we could bring in Jonathan Taves, but he's just so damn expensive. But I suppose Chicago is an option. We have LA, Minnesota with Spurgeon again, Petrie, Weber, Tatar. All available, as is Ben Sherratt. We might have to look at Montreal. Montreal makes more sense than a trade for Jonathan Taves does. I know it would be, the 3rd time we've used Shea Weber. But, again, very, very limited options. Or there's the St. Louis option, but, Scandella's not exactly that much better than who we have. So, at the very least, I guess this puts to bed the theory of franchise mode in Season 1 being incredibly random. Montreal, we got to talk here. We got to talk. The issue is Petrie, Weber, Tatar, Sherratt, Byron are all incredibly useful players to me. Now, Petrie, I don't know if they'll be willing to retain. I mean, his extension technically kicks in, so that might stop it. Now, here's the thing. I might have to split these deals up. I think I would have to split these deals up. So we're going to focus on bringing Tatar back to Detroit, along with Weber and Petrie, because I think in terms of the assets we'd have to add, I'd kind of get screwed over. So Moritz Seider is the main man to use here. We can also look, I mean, if Philip Zadina is going to stay, we can also look at Dennis Cholowski and Jared McIsaac. How close are we? Obviously not that close. I'd love for them to be able to retain on Tomas Tatar as well, but I'm not banking on it. Draft picks. Throwing a first. Just a bit low. Okay, so Seider, Cholowski, McIsaac, and a first is possible. Montreal's pick's worth a decent amount. I want to add in Ben. Well, actually, I mean, if you look at it defensively, see, here's the issue. We don't really need to bring in two other defensemen. I mean, there's no doubt Petrie and Weber make it better, but our defense hasn't necessarily been that bad. What if I add in Paul Byron over Ben Sherratt? Now, we would be over the cap. See, this is the problem. We got to just try to get them to retain on whoever we can. So this would be the second one. We'll try to get them to retain on Tatar. And we'll add in another high-value pick. Let's go next year's second. All right, so they would have accepted it. It's just the value doesn't make sense for them now because of the retention. Let's go for Johansson. Is that enough? No. It's going to be another first-round pick to push this deal through. It'll be the one that they want. I'm going to look to add a little bit on to the deal here to help us out a little bit. Will this go through? No. Straight up? Okay, that will go through. So, I mean, it's a mega deal, but we're doing what we have to do. Let me see if that third round pick will still have it go through. Done deal there. Let's do it. So we pull off the blockbuster with Montreal, bringing in a trio that we have used before. It's now Weber, Petrie, Brody, Hamonic, and obviously we can try to fill out the rest here. Now, Nemeth, DeKaiser, and Stahl haven't necessarily been bad, but I'm going to try to send down the trio of them, and hopefully someone gets claimed. So Patrick Nemeth was claimed by the Kings, which is fine by me. And we'll look at Stahl, DeKaiser, and Bowie and figure out who works for us defensively. Now, obviously, we might have to leave Madison Bowie as a healthy scratch, but that's okay. So let's take a look at what the best defensive combinations are now. So obviously we'll go off of our highest rated options first. Let's get Petrie in there. Let's get Weber in there. Now, like I said, Nemeth wasn't that bad, but freeing up any bit of cap space needed to be done. So Bowie's not a horrible fit for the team. It's just that the likes of DeKaiser, Biega, and Stahl are a little bit better. How does Biega fit in? Okay, they're all about the same. Actually, no, Stahl's a better fit, isn't he? Why is it not showing me how good of a fit Mark Stahl is on the team? Okay, he's the same. So, technically, we know Stahl's a 79. I guess we'd rather play DeKaiser over Stahl or Biega. So, let's take a look here. So, Weber's a pretty decent fit. Really, everyone's about the same. So we could look, not that we want Weber as an OFD necessarily, but like Ronick, Petrie, Brody could be offensive defensemen on this team. And a defensive defenseman, let's see, Ronick's a good fit for that line. Defensive defenseman could be Weber, Hamonic, DeKaiser, which honestly works for me. I mean, there's no denying that team is significantly better looking now. The question now is, where the hell did it send Filip Zadina? Because when that trade happened, I don't recall it showing Filip Zadina as one of the people it would send down. Okay, so he was sent down, but that's okay. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. With Abdelkader, we'll call up Zadina. Again, Gagne and Helm aren't incredible fits. So here we're going to send down... I can't send down Bowie, but Biega and Stahl, hate to tell you boys, you're getting sent down. And hopefully Bowie can be traded. So we will call up Zadina. We did in that move. Good. And unfortunately, like I said, Gagne, Helm, Taro, Hiros, these guys aren't exactly incredible fits. Now, it sent down Adam Ernie as well, which is fine by me. I think that's a part of the game plan. So let's get Filip Zadina back in here. And then on the third line, again, there's Tatar and Byron. So let's get one Tomas Tatar back in here. And then, I mean, was Perlini the weakest link? Was it Nielsen? I think it was Nielsen. So say we take out Franz Nielsen. We get Paul Byron back in here. And then, yeah. Let's take a look here. So Tatar back in Detroit. I think we're going to send down Perlini. So we'll go with Mantha, Fabry, Tatar, Byron, Backlund, Perlini. Now, obviously, the chemistry isn't incredible right now, which is a pretty big issue. Honestly, we can go Applicator, Backlund, Flipper. Get good chem on the fourth line. And good chem on the third line is going to be a little bit harder to come by here. It's about as good as it gets. I don't know if there's anyone we can call up to replace Perlini. Okay, and you saw that we changed the defense, and now all of a sudden it's not there. So, gotta love that. Great game, as they say. Great game. And we're not going to put in Madison Bowie. We'll bring in DeKaiser. So again, it will be Petrie, Brody, Ronick, and we're going to pretty much do it just like that. So we could get better line chemistry. It might come back to haunt me that I'm not optimizing the team right now and taking care of all the lines, but we're going to move on. Let's go to February. We have one trade left to try and get this team into playoff contention. I'm hoping for the best. Let's see how this goes. I mean, a decent start, winning not 3 out of 4, but 2 out of 3. Now it's 3 out of 4. Beating Ottawa. We beat Buffalo as well. We beat the Islanders. We're on a run here. It's Pittsburgh and Florida next. We take 3 out of 4 points. This team's on fire right now. We do get crushed by Colorado. We lose to Minnesota as well, so 3 straight losses. But we're keeping pace with the... we're keeping pace with the competition for the most part. We're still not amazing, though, which isn't shocking. But we are currently, just 3 points back of the Bruins. Let's take a look at the team. And really, we have to rely on the higher level guys. So, if anything, let's just take a look at what's out there right now. And, I guess, really take inventory of the assets that we have to use to our benefit here. Which is mainly going to be Johansson, Master, Simone, Bowie, and whatever picks we have left. So no Jonathan Taves-like player is likely. We might be able to pull off a deal for Taves and only Taves, which... God, there's an OnlyFans joke to make there somewhere. We might be able to pull off a blockbuster for Jonathan Taves here at the end. It's the one thing we're missing is kind of... not that he's significantly better. Hello. Dodonov, Hoffman, Halla, Hornqvist. Okay, maybe we don't get Jonathan Taves. It's either a deal for Taves or we make a deal with Florida to bring in a little bit more general depth to the team. Clearly that's what it's got to be. And I don't think we can afford to sim this month and wait for better deals to become available. I think we have to explore trading with Florida. I'd rather have Donoff and Hoffman than just Taves. And the good thing is, most of these guys are on expiring deals. Hornqvist is not, but Donoff, Hoffman, Haula could help us a lot. I would rather go for those three. So if we look at what we have, oh boy, the menu lag right now. If we look at what we have in terms of assets, again, Zadina stays, so we're looking at Johansson, Master Simone, Madison, Bowie. Now, I'd be over the cap, but we know Florida should be able to retain. Maybe not 50% on both. We're going to be able to pull off this deal, I think, quite easily. And it will be the final deal that we make to improve the overall standing of the team. I'd still be over the cap. Did they sign one of them to an extension? And can I get Eric Hall on 50 as well? No, I can't. Yeah, I know it says time's allowed too, but I still had to try, damn it. I still had to try. So we have to add somebody in terms of a salary dump. Mark Stahl is the most likely option. This won't go through on its own. We might not be able to get Haula in the deal, but the top two would be great. Let's look at a first rounder. Will this go through? No. What if I take out Stahl and we add someone who... I mean, granted, they want Stahl, so it makes sense to have him be the cap dump here. God, some of these contracts on Detroit are bad, man. I think we're going to have to take out Haula. So it's just going to be Donoff and Hoffman. And I refuse to call him Dadnoff. I mean, it is Donoff, but everyone just calls him Dadnoff. Probably because of Johnny. Will this go through? No. The value's there, but they're just not feeling it. Now, the good thing is, actually, I don't even need to add Stahl into the deal. We're not red bar on the left. Will this go through? Yes, it will. The Donoff and Hoffman are here. Now it shows us as being over salary because it's dumb and stupid and I hate it. But that final deal is done. So our defense is set. Of course, Mark Stahl is there if need be. And, well, actually, defensively, I mean, I think I did send down to Kaiser and he wasn't claimed. If I'm not mistaken, let me try it again. Apparently, I'd still be over the cap if I send down to Kaiser. Cool beans, whatever. I'm going to have to... Oh, okay, maybe not. I was going to say I'm going to have to do the thing where I just let the, AIGM autofix, apparently, but that didn't work either. So if we go best lines... Okay, good. Everyone's called up that needs to be called up. So let's see what we have here. So in terms of performances, Flipper's been fine, Backlund's been fine, Advocator's been fine, Perlini's been pretty good on the third line. I mean, there's the argument now of who the hell takes a seat. And I hate to say it because he's been good on the third line, but Perlini's likely the guy that takes a seat just due to his lower overall. And then Justin Advocator, I think, too. Just because he's a lower overall player, kind of has to bite the bullet and take a seat. Which means the bottom six, I think I'm cool with moving down Fabry and Tatar. And then Donoff, Hoffman fit into the top line situations. But then we don't have a natural center. So Fabry or Ryan will have to be called back up. Probably Fabry. These two fit in the same way. Hoffman's been struggling. Donoff hasn't been. So that is the play right there. This is the team. I mean, that top six, or really the top nine, is pretty solid as things stand. I don't hate this team right now. Now, are they going to be good enough to make it? I don't know. And we are going to have to optimize the lines, so I'll be back in a second. But this team has a shot. All right, so with that, we are set. This team is good to go. You get a look at the new lines and the chemistry now. It's still not amazing. It's not as good as what we had in terms of chemistry at the beginning of this video, but obviously the talent on the team is significantly better. So Bertuzzi, Larkin, Zadina is going to stay. Second line, Mantha, Fabry, Dadonov, Tatar, Ryan, Hoffman, and then Byron, Backlund, and Flipper. Defensively, 2 +3s and a +5, Petrie, Weber, Brody, Hamonic, Chronic, and DeKaiser. Who would have thought that these two, I mean, maybe Philip Chronic, but DeKaiser was the other defenseman initially on this team that was going to stick around. And then, of course, Bernier and Howard. Like I said, we had enough changes we had to make to the rest of the squad that we just couldn't focus on goaltending. We had to hope that this team would be, if we build it up in front of the goalies, that those two goalies would be good enough. And with how, we've talked about it a lot, with how goaltenders work in franchise, I mean, yeah, you don't always have the highest rated guys putting on the best performances consistently. So it's not worth investing into. I don't know if we've traded for a goalie yet in this series, and I don't know if we ever will, to be honest. It just doesn't seem like something that's going to happen. It's something that's really worth it to us unless both of our goaltenders are just absolutely horrific. And say what you want about Jonathan Bernier and Jimmy Howard, but I wouldn't describe them as absolutely horrific in a video game sense. You can debate whether or not Jimmy Howard's horrible real-life numbers this year were due to him or the team in front of him, or both, for that matter. Now, we've reached March 1st, and we are already showing signs of significant improvement. We are in second in the division. The Bruins have a game at hand on us, and they are right there. So Tampa's running away with the division, but it looks as though we have done enough to get this team over the edge and into the playoffs. At this point, it would be a disappointment for us to not make it. It's clear we have a squad that is talented enough. So I'm excited to see what this could be. I mean, who's to say what's going to happen once we get into the playoffs, right? I mean, we all know how random that can be. But the job of acquiring enough talent to put this team into a position to succeed appears to have been done. But that said, we've lost 4 in a row and are barely holding on to a playoff spot right now, so perhaps I shouldn't get ahead of myself. 38, 30, and 10. If it wasn't for those overtime losses, man, we'd be in a bad way. 2 games left. We still haven't clinched a playoff spot. Interestingly enough, you got Boston, who can finish on 91 points. The Panthers can finish on 90. We have to win one of these final 2 games to punch our ticket. It's Toronto and Tampa, the 2 teams ahead of us. We're likely to play the Leafs in the first round. We lose, but that is enough. So there you have it. The Red Wings make the playoffs in this one-and-done season. Final game of the year is against 51-win Tampa. They're now 52-win Tampa. And we will be taking on Toronto in round 1. The Bruins nearly jumped us, which means we would have been taking on potentially Washington or Tampa. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy ultimately that it's Toronto, and maybe we can play every single game in the big house like the Winter Classic. God, that was, 6 years ago? I think. 2014. It was the 2014 Winter Classic, right? This doesn't mean anything, and I don't care. 2014 Winter Classic. That was the big house game, right? Yeah? Jesus, that was 6 years ago already. The Toronto, almost 7. The Toronto and Detroit played in the Winter Classic. Oh, my God. Whew. God damn. I couldn't help it. I looked at the team roster. Here, you know what? Screw it. I couldn't help it. I looked at the team roster. And playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs that day, Jerry D'Amigo, Paul Ranger, Colton Orr, and Jay McClement. Whew. What a team. Go look at the rest of the lineups there for Toronto and Detroit in the 2014 Winter Classic. There are some names. Tremendous stuff. That said, I want to get a quick look at what the team was able to do, as Dylan Larkin did lead the way. He hit 30 goals. How did Daddy do? 16 points in 30 games? It's okay. Bertuzzi did pretty well. Tatar back in Detroit. 24 points in 41 games. Not too bad, I suppose. Zadina, like I said, wasn't necessarily out of place. 51 points for Mantha. It's clearly a sense of all-around scoring for this team. We don't have an elite line like, say, Boston has. that's going to carry us. Everyone needs to get involved on the scoring. Although we did have 3 30-point defensemen with Ronick, Brody, and Petrie, which is perfect because they are our OFDs. And then Jonathan Bernier will clearly be the starter. And hopefully, I've seen him win a Conn Smythe before. Hopefully he can get the job done. And we'll see what happens there. So, good stuff indeed. Let's do this. Postseason time. Here in Detroit, we take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 1. We'll take a look at their line combos at the very least, because you never really know what teams are going to do. It is Nylander, Matthews, Marner, Hyman, Tavares, Mikheyev, Rodriguez, Kerfoot, Clifford, Spezza, Malgin, Patan. Defensively, Riley, Barry, Muzzin, Ceci, Dermott, Hall. That sounds about right. Goaltender, of course, Freddie Anderson. Healthy scratches, Marincin, Gauthier, and Matt Irwin ended up on roster. Good stuff. Good stuff. So let's do this. We are going to sim from the menu to have this be a little bit of a faster process. Elimination games will be the ones where we jump in. So Toronto, 8 wins in their last 10 heading into the postseason, but they lose game 1. Mike Hoffman, a 3-point effort, 2 goals. We win in overtime over the Leafs to take game 1. Game 2 is a 4-1 loss. Okay, not great. Game 3 is a 6-3 win. So a 2-1 series lead here. Dylan Larkin, 5 points in 3 games, all assists. Game 4 here on home ice is a loss, 6-5 in overtime. So a 2-2 split heading into a crucial Game 5. Let's see how this goes. It's a win. So here we go. 2 opportunities. 2 opportunities here to make the most of this. Let's see what we got, shall we? Can we end this series in 6 games? First period, goal apiece, Hyman and Brody. Second period is scoreless. Third period, we have 9 shots heading into the third period, 26-9. Clearly, Jonathan Bernier is good enough to get the job done here. It's just, can the offense deliver? Like I said, we don't have those true game changers, but everyone on this forward core and the defense as well, capable of scoring if need be. Are we going to go to overtime? Yes, we are. So 32 shots to 23, a much better run of form there. Let's see how it goes. And there it is. Mike Hoffman ends it 17 seconds into it. The Detroit Red Wings eliminate the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 1 in 6 games. Dylan Larkin, 9 points in those 6 games. And we are on to round 2, where we will be taking on the previously aforementioned Boston Bruins. Hot damn. Let's see what we have here, shall we, when it comes to the point totals. And, I said the top line might not be tremendous, but Larkin, Zadina, and Bertuzzi got it done. Hoffman, Tatar, Dadonov doing very well for us as well. You'd want to see a bit more out of Anthony Mantha, but as always, it's promising that we did as well and advanced without Mantha necessarily showing up. Bernier only rocking a 9.06, but it was enough to beat his former team in the first round. With that, we will take a look at the Boston Bruins. What are we dealing with here? It's Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, DeBrusque, Krejci, Kasha, Richie, Coyle, Bjork, Wagner, Corrali, Pissick. Mark Pissick was acquired. Okay. Defensively, Krug, McAvoy, Grizzly, Carlo, Chara, and Brad Hunt also acquired. Goaltending, Rask and Halak, scratches, Lindholm, Moore, and Nordstrom. So a couple of new faces introduced into the lineup there. Fair enough. And we'll see how this goes. I do want to take a look at the overall ratings. Let's see what we have here. So we have a better offense. They have a better defense and goaltending. No real surprise there. Larkin v. Marchand in terms of the top-rated teams. Game number 1 goes to the Bruins. 4-3 in overtime. Not ideal. Game number 2 is a 5-0 win. Jonathan Bernier, have yourself a day. Game number 3 is a 5-3 win. 2 straight 5-goal performances. Now a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 is a loss, so we're again tied up at 2 apiece. Pittsburgh already punching their ticket to the conference final. Let's see what happens here. Crucial game 5. We lose, so our backs are against the wall here. A must-win game against the Bruins, or we are going to fall short in the second round of the playoffs. Here we go. First period, scoreless. Second period, not scoreless. Brad Marchand from center ice. We go to the third in need of goals desperately. Power play chance. Bergeron scores shorthanded, and I think that's going to do it. We did so well to get this team into a super competitive place, but we are going to fall short in the second round of the Bruins. You know, perhaps no shame. Perhaps no shame in how it went down. But the Red Wings fall in round 2 in a series where we scored 5 goals twice. Absolute pain and misery. Dylan Larkin, the ultimate setup, man. I wish he had scored more goals, but I'm not going to complain about 16 points in 12 games. I mean, Bertuzzi was banging him in for fun. Yeah, Mantha with just 4 points. I said we had like this overall sense of the team actually being able to do well and everyone being able to score, but the issue is when everyone doesn't score, it's a problem. Also, the Kaiser and Ronick were a problem, and maybe we should have been a little bit more hands-on. Maybe we should have gotten a goaltender. Things went well, but not well enough. Detroit, one and done. A second-round playoff loss.